Hey, Cardinals fans, welcome back to the Redbird Rundown. I'm Andy, and today we have a special guest, an announcement. We're here with Matt, Jonathan, and Scott. And about Scott, he's joining the Redbird Rundown, so you're going to hear his voice more on this podcast as well as his own. And if you're enjoying this show, please share us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can find all of our social media links in the episode description, and you can also watch us on YouTube. Today, boys, what we're going to cover is perhaps one of the most crucial links to the St. Louis Cardinals' success, and maybe a budding star. Who knows? We'll see where where it goes. But today, we're going to review a few bullpen additions that Ryne has done, and then we're going to take an analytical dive on one Masyn Winn. And we all know about his defense. Matt has alluded to some Ozzie Smiths before with him. But what does he need to do specifically to become a star, which is probably going to revolve around his plate appearances because they have been so-so, to be fair to him. But before we get into all that, boys, let's kick off with a Scott first vibe check from this past week. Scott, what's been going on, man?
Well, first off, my vibe just all around is I'm very excited to be kind of coming into this thing with you guys and seeing where we can take it. And like Jonathan was saying, find us over on YouTube. We got some fun stuff in the works. So very excited about where that's going. So vibe in there. With the Cardinals, a whole lot of, okay, I guess it's fine. We wanted action. They gave us something. So I guess it's kind of a shrug of the shoulders, and we're just going to keep moving onwards and upwards until the big splash is made.
Yeah, which is hopefully right after the podcast is recorded, so we can try to splice in another audio. Ryne, so if you get that on, all right. So, Matt, what is your vibe check this week?
My vibe check is kinder and gentler, or kindler and gentler, either way.
Yeah.
Did you guys know that the president of baseball operations for the St. Louis Cardinals is allowed to come to agreements with arbitration eligible players without taking them to full arbitration and hammering them and trying to lower their value in front of a third party? Wow. It's amazing. So Bloom has done this a couple times. This is very much a change from the Mosaic regime. I think maybe Bloom's best skill so far is wringing extra money out of the DeWitts. He seems to just have the magic touch. So whatever you're doing, continue to do it, because I just think this is a better way to operate going forward, this kinder and gentler way. Like, yeah, we appreciate you. Here's some money. Yeah.
I have no idea what you just said. I got like parts of it, but what on earth? Okay, so run that back. Mo did what? What would he do to these guys?
Mo would take arbitration cases all the way to the arbiter. So a player will come in at a dollar amount. The franchise will come in at a dollar amount, and they don't settle. They go in front of a third party, and Mo would always take these guys in front of the third party. And basically what you're doing is the player's
hanging
saying,
the dirty laundry
really
out.
Good.
Yeah.
And the franchise is saying, no, we don't think you're quite as good, right? And
so that's what happened with Pat or Screwball. Like they had like
Scooble.
Scooble.
Yeah, Scooble. Yeah.
Yeah, and
like,
Andy, that arbiter he's talking about is the one from Halo 2 and 3.
Yeah, that's what that's where my mind went.
Yeah, that's who it is. So don't worry. That's
as
what
long
happened.
as he's got an energy sword, we're in good shape.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, Jonathan,
that's over my head there, guys.
Yeah.
Oh, no lockout rockets for Scott back in the day.
Move it along.
That was high school for me. All right, Jonathan, what's your vibe check?
All right, Scott, we're going to see if you're in on this. Simply, it's this. It's not 5 words, so I'm going to cheat here. Lord of the Rings is the GOAT.
Oh, wow.
And I'm going to tell you why Lord of the Rings is the GOAT, okay? This is not a baseball one at all. I just want to brace yourself. So my wife and I have started this new tradition last year. This is the second year where we watch all the extended Lord of the Rings on New Year's and the day after.
Just the Lord of the Rings?
Just the Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
Right. We'll eventually get to the Hobbits because we want to start the new year off right.
Yep.
Just go ahead and bang out the best 3 movies in cinema history. Just go for it. So I sat here and I'm watching all these movies and I thought, my Lord, I've watched these how many times and they're still amazing. Did you hear them piccolos coming in? My Lord from the Shire, he just brings a tear to your eye. I don't care who you are.
Can I tell you this? This is going to get even nerdier. As I'm reading every night before bed, I've got my Beats headphones on, and it is just straight Shire piccolo music.
Oh.
And, well, last night I discovered a little 3-hour Rohan music, and I'll tell you, those trumpets were going off, and I was ready to just erupt through the top of the house. Yeah,
and
amazing.
Not run through the wall. And first of all, 3 hours of Shire music, how are you just not weeping?
Well, it's just in the background, It's just got the right vibe for me to be reading this book. It's wonderful.
So
Love
nothing Cardinals related, Andy. Lord of the Rings just is the GOAT for me. I just had to share it if it's not already been said.
Well, I'll make mine winter related and make it also Cardinals related. And the fact that winter is like, okay, here we go. Cold hush, silver light waiting. That's what winter is to me. It's a cold hush. Okay,
It's
it's quieter. It's quieter. There's some light sometimes, and we wait for a different season. I feel like that is what my complaint as a casual fan who's never really experienced the off season to the extent that you three do. That's what this is like. It's a cold hush. There's some silver light, and there's a lot of waiting. So winter is like in an off season and the MLB. So the more that I sit through this offseason, the more that I appreciate you guys coming up with the idea to talk about changes to the offseason, because it is kind of boring to sit through, to be honest.
You could put that on a Hallmark card. No joke, what you just said. That was very...
I just didn't know we were on this call with Robert Frost. Like, what's happening right now?
The analogy, that was perfect. Everything you said lined up.
Yeah. Let's, Chaim, once again, you have been just great at getting deals done right after we get done recording. So let's do that. Let's move Donnie, okay? And let's have some meat. That is what we're waiting on. All right, so what did we do this past week? We made a few additions, like we said at the top, to the bullpen. We traded for one Justin Bruihl from the Cleveland Guardians in exchange for some cash considerations. And Matt, when I think of that, I have been playing Cyberpunk 2077, which is like a futuristic GTA. And I just cash considerations to me, like that, take me somewhere. What does that mean in the MLB? Because where I'm at, it doesn't mean the same thing, probably.
It is the single most traded player in the history of all professional sports, right? I mean, this is essentially the Cleveland Guardians sold us Justin Bruihl. But that is horrific language that we stopped using in this country in the 1860s. So they've got to find a different way to refer to it. So cash considerations it is. I don't know what the jersey number it is if it's just the money sign on the back of the jersey, what it is. We also don't know exactly how much cash it is, but, you know, with Bloom and the DeWallets open up, who knows how much it could be.
So it was about what I thought, you know, like the cash considerations. I think they're called hot bots or something in Cyberpunk. But we also signed one Ryne Stanek as a veteran bullpen help. And my favorite post that I saw about this acquisition was on Reddit, which about the only media source outside of, like your major things that I hang out at. And someone put that we signed a veteran closer presence. And someone pointed out, it was like, I don't think, Scott, that you can put him as a closer when he has like 9 saves over like 7 years or something like that. So how would you describe what he is? Was that inaccurate in the fact that he is a closer? Is he a setup guy? Is he just another arm out there that we're just going to see what happens out there?
Yeah, I think he's a guy who can close, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have a closer. Of those games he saved 10 in the last 2 years. But I think the Cardinals are going to be very happy rolling Matt Swanson out there, or Jojo Romero up until who is still hanging around. But yeah, if that's the move that's made in about 3 hours when we finish this all up, then that's totally fine. I don't think Ryne Stanek is going to be that 9th inning guy, but he might be that, either maybe that Kyle Leahy or that firefighter role. He's got the 99 mile an hour fastball, but he doesn't have the command. So let's see if he can be that bridge guy up until either those higher leverage guys or bring us until the 9th with a lead.
Yeah, so I didn't want to blaze over, Justin Bruihl also. Do any of you guys have anything you would like to say to the listeners about Justin Bruihl or Ryne Stanek? I already got Scott's take. Jonathan, do you have anything you want to add about anything that
I will just talk about Stanek here. I immediately was like, well, this is Phil Maton. This is the signing, right? The veteran guy. But Phil Maton, and I don't mean any disrespect to our buddy Ryne here, which Ryne, it's Ryne, right? R-Y-N-E. That's what we're saying.
Yeah. My brothers are saying that's the second best Ryne in all of baseball.
Wow, that's high praise from a Chicagoan. I just think Ryne. I think of Parmesan Ryne. Rind. I don't know why my mind goes Ryne.
Parmesan rind. What are you talking about?
Buddy, I'm cooking some real
watermelon
stuff.
rind?
The end of it, buddy. The end of the Parmesan
edges?
is
like you're using one of those like.
Yeah, the end of it that it comes out of.
So good right now what I'm doing for all of our Spotify and Apple listeners. But the grinder, that's what you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
It's high class up in this joint. I don't know what to tell you. Okay, so I thought to myself, this is the Maton signing. The problem is Maton was good the year prior to getting him. Okay. And again, I've just shots totally fired at Ryne here, but he struggled last year. He has some really high upside stuff. He throws really hard, 96th percentile on his fastball. He's thrown like 98.5 and he's 34. That's extremely impressive to be this far in your career and throw that hard. Good whiff rate, good chase rate, everything you want out of a bullpen guy, except for he walks everybody and their dog. That's just how he does it. He was erratic, right, the last couple years. So I don't know that I expect him to come in and be like, oh my gosh, we got Phil Maton for $35 and a Wendy's gift card on the way back to St. Louis. This is a little bit different, right? I don't expect him to be as good right away, but he could. He could be. It is a very low like risk signing. He's a veteran. He knows how to go out there and post innings and do it. If he's not good, it's okay. We could just release him. If he is good, awesome. We found somebody with some strikeout punch and he's out there.
Yeah, let me jump in on Stanek before you drive us over to Bruihl, Andy. I'm going to give you two key stats. His career K per 9 is 10.43. So he's averaging more than a strikeout per inning. And that's not like incredibly rare for a bullpen piece, but that's what you're looking for. You want the guy who can come in and get the strikeouts. If he does walk guys, he can also get outs without the ball being in play, which helps with those base runners. And I noticed last year he was not very successful with the Mets. His splitter usage went way down and his slider usage went way up. And so I just wonder if, one of those kind of arsenal things that we like to talk about, if we'll see some of that reverse, because he had some years. Now, granted, this is about 5 years ago for the Astros, where he was one of the best relievers in baseball. I think we're probably past that. But the key to me here is if he's good, he's flippable. And Bloom is just building this team of flippable veterans because it's not long term. He's not going to hurt our future. The only thing this is going to do is help. And the worst it's going to cost us is cash considerations. And we've been trading those all over the place. So, as far as that goes, I think it's another arm to throw out there and let's see how it goes.
That's a good point. I was going to ask you, Scott, if you take away that he's a bullpen guy and you see all of these percentages and you see his upside, and let's say he's a starter, aren't you like super hyped for this signing? If you see this, even with the walk problem, because you could fix that technically. Right? Wouldn't you be hyped about a starter who has these kind of upside numbers?
Yeah, a starter that can throw that 99 and have that whiff rate and that chase rate that you're talking about would definitely be that intriguing piece. And that's what I think they targeted in the draft. So they're doing it with that low cost and high control option, as opposed to trying to figure out on the free agent market value, how long of a contract do you deal them with? When is 2027 happening? How long is the rebuild happening? There's a lot of questions with those veterans that can do that. So I think the draft is the right way that they have been doing it for right now.
That's the contrast here I'm trying to make. And I'm glad you said that, because this bullpen guy has a lot of upside and he just randomly signed with us. He was just on the bin. And this is how bullpens work. You get these guys and they might be awesome. You get them and they may not be awesome. Matt, I like that point you mentioned about maybe flipping him. I hadn't really thought about that. But if he's great, those are just free prospects if he goes to a contender. So very good point there.
Just a side note about Ryne. Matt, have you noticed this guy's haircut? Like, I know you're big on people's hairstyle and facial hair.
Andy, this is your niche right here. This is exactly you need. I don't know if you've looked him up on LinkedIn or not yet, but this is right where you're at. Yeah, he's got a little flow game going, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's rough. Either way, that's all I wanted to point out. So I hope that there's a couple of upticks in his looking up images of Ryne Stanek, rather.
Where would he fall in the wives rankings for the best looking Cardinals?
Not on there. That's for sure.
Is there a wife ranking for like medieval torturer? Like, that's the kind of look that he's got.
He does.
Yeah, he does. He definitely does. That's a good one.
So Justin Bruihl, any highlights, anything, lowlights, maybe anything he wants to hop in and share about what we picked up from the Guardians here? Is this a left-handed pitcher who's going to be in for a lefty left-on-left batting approach, and then we're going to send him, is this what he is? Is this a one and done, like you face him for the left-handed hitters and then he's out?
Well, I think the initial reaction of this signals an end to Jojo Romero's time on social media. I'm hoping it was sarcasm because that is not the replacement level of Jojo Romero, just with the fact he's another left-handed pitcher that's not Nick Reckett. So on the on the surface, it is what it is. Another 90 to 92 mile an hour guy. I would say if you want a deeper dive breakdown, Jake Wood and Viva Alberto's did a whole prospect savant, baseball savant, spin rate, and all that, like in vertical break and everything, and talking about how it looks like he's throwing harder and the different spin, stuff like that. So he's more interested in it than I am, but the low quality lefty relievers, I think I can just take him and keep moving on. John King is gone, so we're all good. I don't care what happens then.
Yeah.
I was going to say, let me introduce you to John King on the 2026 Cardinals. This is who it is, right? John King is gone. Long live John King. But one thing of note, he had very few innings pitched with the Blue Jays last year. But I will say that he switched from cutter to sinker, and the sinker was insanely effective. This is a stat that Jonathan likes to poke around on Redbird Rundown a lot, and that is pitching plus. His sinker. Now, granted, we're talking about a very small sample size, but a 121 plus on the sinker for pitching plus. So if that's some kind of new development, new weapon, maybe at least he can be a ground ball guy. And Scott, to your point, if all we're having to replace is John King, then I'm not sure that I couldn't go out there and replace some of those innings. So as far as this goes, again, I just think Jonathan's already brought up this point, but I just want to reiterate it. I think this is smart. This is how you build a bullpen. You do cast-offs, you do veterans, you do low-cost things, because if you have 15 arms, 8 of them are likely to work, at least for a season, with the volatility of relievers. So there must be something in his profile, and I'm wondering if it's this, sinker or something else that they're seeing that they like, because I think we've got a track record of Bloom taking chances on guys that have something to bring to the table, I think. Jonathan, is that what you're seeing?
I absolutely. And it makes me feel better, too. So he's 28. We didn't get into like his, kind of basic statistics here, who he is, where he's, I don't know where he is or where he's from, or his address. I don't know any of that, but I do know he's 28, and that's fine, right? Younger guy. He still has some runway here, where runway in a good way. Not
2025 only. 2025.
I meant the air where a plane lands.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Tarmac. Got it.
Tarmac. That's right. There you go.
Still
John
not okay,
King,
but keep going.
He was older, right? Like he's this guy's so much cheaper. And the thing that I like about this, that I didn't realize until right now, Matt, as you were talking, is he has come from the Dodgers. He's come from Pittsburgh, Toronto, and Cleveland. 3 of the 4 of those teams are smart, right? Sorry, Pittsburgh. And so if he's been in these organizations, right, they think that there's something with him, and it makes me feel better that we also now think something. Now, it's telling that he's not with those organizations.
True.
But when you are smart, you kind of mimic what smart teams do. Maybe we kick the tires on him. I mean, Matt, I like the pitching plus statistics. Mm-hmm. John King, and I won't bore you with this, but John King was right at average or below. And if you take the average of his stuff plus, location plus, and pitching plus, he's like 12% better than league average. John King was never 12% better at anything. And again, John King, no shots. This is just a better version of him. He's younger, he's cheaper. Again, if he's not good, you just cut bait, and that's it. So I love the way we're putting this together, and I hope we continue this. The whole like $70 million for Edwin Diaz, only the Dodgers can do that. Mm-hmm. I don't ever want us, fishing in that pool. This is fine. Let's see if we can get somebody that pops, especially with our expectations for this year.
Yes, I agree. I mean, I think it's well documented that if I was a GM, I would never spend any money on any bullpen guy, because it is infamously volatile. It's just like they sign these big contracts and it's a dud. They just show up and it is a totally different pitcher. So I am on board with everybody else that has said things. As a casual guy, yep, find some rando dude. Like, who's this? Sure, great. Throw him in there. Let's find out, right? Let's get him on the train, as Matt likes to say, from AAA up to down and back and forth. So let's move on to, I found an interesting article that on ESPN that they had a power rankings of everyone who is 25 and younger. And so they did by birth year. So Masyn Winn was born in 2002, which is and so that makes him 23 years old. And so I would just like to, so they have him, Masyn Winn, as number 5 in the power rankings. Last year,
for 23-year-olds, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Everybody born in that year? Okay.
So some people who are above him. Okay. So we have one, Paul Skeens is number 1.
Sure.
Okay.
Seems fair.
Yep. L.A. De La Cruz is number 2.
Your
All
boy.
right? Pete Crow Armstrong is number 3.
Hmm.
All right.
What was that sound you made earlier, Scott?
James Wood is 4th. Masyn Winn 5th. Then we have number 8 real quick. I know we're not going to talk about him that much this episode, but number 8 is one JJ Weatherholt is on the list. So the Cardinals are the only team for that year that has 2 players. So it is comforting, first of all. So let's just take a step back before we get zeroed in on some of the stuff that we like to see as couch hitters, to see what's nice to see from people who cover baseball and who like ranking things, because everybody likes a ranked thing, is that Masyn Winn is on this list. And that's a heavy hitting, the people in front of him are some really exciting players for baseball. So let's just start there with that fact of, I want to go with some things that Masyn like we all know about his fielding. So before we critique the hitting and maybe we dissect it, can you guys go around the horn here, starting with Scott? Can you guys give me just the thing that jumped out with you the most about his hitting, something that you feel confident that he can build on, that you're glad to see, maybe while you're stat diving, something that just jumped out at you as like, oh, okay, good. We have, something here to work with. Scott, go ahead.
So let me first say I'm a former pitcher and I'm going to dive into hitters first. So take that for what it is. But I will say I was surprised eye test wise. I thought Masyn Winn's approach at the plate was much improved. I felt very confident with him at the plate last year, especially. Well, even with the season that he had, I felt that there's a lot of movement in the box, whether it was his feet moving. It seemed that back foot seemed to slide a little too often. Again, this is coming from a pitcher who doesn't know what. That's just the stuff that I'm looking at from that point of view when we were watching those games. This year, I thought he was really dialed in, looked more confident. It's unfortunate that he doesn't yet have a spot in the lineup, which I think is still going to be a continued talking point for Masyn Winn for the foreseeable future until some other things sort themselves out. But I'm still waiting on that power that I still think is going to come. But I would say that even though his numbers look kind of similar or even a little bit worse on some ends than last year on the offensive side, I was very impressed with what I saw on the eye test.
Swag. He liked to swag at the plate.
Oh yeah.
Marinate the Juan Soto butt out. That's perhaps my favorite move of all time. I hate it, but I also love it. Matt, you want to go next? Just something, just take a step back and just something you feel comfortable and confident about Masyn Winn.
Yeah, before we dive in too far, and I like how you're setting this up, Andy. If you go to StatCast, and again, they just do such a nice job because it's red or blue. And you've already mentioned this, but if you scroll down on StatCast to get to the defensive stuff, it turns out that it says Ozzie Smith down there. And it's crazy that they just put that in on StatCast. That's what it says.
It's just a Hall of Famer, casually.
Now, if you go up to the hitting, it's a pretty grim wasteland of blue for Masyn Winn. There is one notable exception, and so this is the skill that he's got to build off of. He's 88th percentile in whiff rate, meaning when he swings at something, he's got well above average bat to ball skill. And so if you're looking, how are we going to build an offensive profile that Masyn Winn was a WRC plus of 91 last year? How are we going to get that in if he's in the 110 range and plays this kind of defense? I know this is insane. He's 23 years old and you guys can laugh at me in 10 years, but Red Jacket in Cooperstown is not insane because of where he's playing at a premium defensive position. So to me, just at first blush, that whiff percentage, that ability to connect when he swings, that's the building block to me.
Jonathan, what did you see?
Yeah, I wrote down 3 things kind of in his good column for hitting Matt, because it is like the northern wasteland of death and despair out there on his StatCast page. It really is. But he has a really high quality zone contact rate. So when the ball is pitched in zone, he swings at the strike and he hits it pretty hard. We'll get into why he's not finding better luck with that a little bit later. I will try to. But that is a good sign. That's kind of like Alec Burleson-ish, where if the ball is in a right area to swing, he's not swinging at the bad stuff, I guess is really what I'm trying to drive to. And that is good. 90 percentile, like that's insane, right? Very nice to have behind your back. In his rookie season, it kind of fell off this season, but his rookie season, he was awesome at extending at bats and swinging with 2 strikes. His average is almost better in 2-strike counts than they were in 0-0 counts or 1-0 counts, which is kind of nuts. Now, why has that fallen off a bit this last season? I think there's a few things that you point to, but that is a really good trait to have in your rookie season. If you can get back to that peak of being a good 2-strike hitter, then you can be way more selective than going up there and swinging at the first pitch.
Yeah, it's really funny that's what you highlighted, Jonathan, because that is precisely his contact rate is I have above average or / exceptional, honestly. He is, I won't bore you with the exact stats, but listener, you can go look for yourself if you think I'm a liar, which is totally fine if you do.
I do.
But okay. But the inside zone contact. All right.
Yeah.
So Fangraphs has that as like this Z contact. Percent of times a batter makes contact with ball when swinging at pitches thrown inside the zone. Yeah, he was like 5 points above average. He was almost 90% of the time hitting a ball that was thrown inside when he swung at it. And then also, interestingly enough, his swinging outside of the zone, so things that are not inside the strike zone, is lower, which means he has, quote unquote, a better eye. But when he chose to swing at something outside the zone, he was noticeably different, as in like 15% above MLB average at actually making contact with said pitches, which was very fascinating. Something to work with. The guy makes contact with balls. So that is something that is for sure a positive to me, right? Of something that we can work with. So you have somebody who passes the pitcher eye test, who is doing his dance, was not sliding that back foot around, right? We have a guy making contact. Where does it fall apart? Because there's a lot of stats that you could point to. We'll do the reverse order. Jonathan, give me something that you noticed, or however you want to chalk it up, of what was going on. Why is there a little bit of disconnect with like elite hitters at those positions? Because I think it's unfair to like compare him to like Aaron Judge or Big Dumper, like the guys who are hitting for power, because that's not really is what he's doing. So Jonathan, give us something like, that you saw.
I'll leave a lot of meat on the bone for Matt and Scott here, because I just want to hit one point here, is that he does not swing the bat hard enough. It is as simple as that. He is really good at making contact, but he needs to swing harder, right? I know we are so frustrated with Jordan Walker, and I'll keep this very brief on him, but he does not have that problem. If Jordan Walker had this profile, right, that we're talking about Masyn Winn, he would have hit 79 home runs last year, is what would have happened. And that's Masyn Winn's Achilles heel, other than health, right, which we're going to talk about at some point, is he just needs to swing the bat harder. You swing the bat harder, you make better contact. He's already has quality contact. The ball goes farther, it rolls to the wall, it catches a gap, it goes over the wall. That's as simple as put. And there's a lot of other, Matt, you can get into the StatCast Blue here. That's what I see as the primary problem with Masyn Winn, is that his bat speed is really low. If you look, he's in the lowest percentile, one of them in Major League Baseball. He needs to try to swing a little bit harder. Does that mean a lighter bat? I genuinely don't know what that means. I don't want to be like, go lift, bro. Like, get stronger.
I think that's what Jonathan was. That's what I was about to say. That I think Matt is just going to say eat 250 grams of protein a day and get in the gym, bro.
I mean, that's, if you look at all the greats, right? They swing the bat really hard, so when they make contact, it goes a long way. Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, actually, Scott, I wondered, you mentioned that you can see kind of power coming on the horizon for him. What is it about Winn that makes you confident in that?
Well, the first is like just thinking about the fact he's still only 23 years old, which is insane. The fact that like the progression that he's made to get to that spot. But in 2023, he hit 18 homers in AAA in just 105 games. If you look at Fangraphs, they projected his raw power and game power to both be 50 grade level. And with his zone recognition and his ability to mature, grow, and all that stuff as a hitter, but not just as a hitter, but physically as well, whether it's the health or just figuring out how to best work his body while working with a major league training staff. I think a 20 home run and at least 20 stolen base season needs to be it is my expectation for Masyn Winn. It doesn't need to be right now, but I think that's the type of player I expect him to be.
Can I throw out a player archetype that I kind of want to turn Masyn Winn into? And maybe you guys will disagree with this and you think I'm way off. Is there any way, or am I crazy for trying to turn Masyn Winn into Brendan Donovan?
Yes.
Because
Just from
Donnie
the
has...
plate?
Yes.
Okay.
Donnie does not have much power at all. And the reason I'm bringing this up is I went over to Donnie's StatCast page, and he swings the bat about as fast as Winn does. So you're looking at essentially, I mean, Donovan probably, well, I have the numbers to prove it to you. Donovan's contact rates are even higher than Winn's. So here's my thought for Winn. And again, you guys may disagree because, Scott, you are right about that power in AAA. And Winn, I don't know if this matters at all or not. Winn looks like a natural athlete much more than Donovan does. So it just feels like there's some room for growth there in terms of his athleticism. But I'm wondering, and here's something specific, Donovan swings less often outside the zone than Winn does. So, Andy, you're citing when he swings outside the zone, he makes above average contact. I don't want him to swing outside the zone as much. I know that's easier said than done, but this is kind of the Burley problem, right? Burley got with Matt Carpenter, started swinging more inside the zone, and Burley has really established himself as an above average MLB hitter. I'm wondering if there is some way that Masyn Winn could kind of walk that path too. If he'll just pull back a little bit from swinging outside the zone, he can swing more inside the zone. That's going to be better contact. And I looked at his heat map inside the zone between him and Donovan. Donovan's is huge and concentrated inside the zones, and Winn's is much more dispersed, which is just another way of saying he's just swinging at worse pitches sometimes. And so I just wonder if it simply comes down to selectivity for him. And maybe that's hard. Maybe that's too hard for some guys to have. Do you guys think I'm off with that, Jonathan? Are you seeing anything like that?
No, I don't think you're necessarily off with that. I think that there is one thing I just looked at that there is a difference between Donnie and Winn is that their barrel percentages are much different. So Donnie may be making better contact because he's actually squaring the ball up.
Because you're right. Because he's swinging at stuff inside the zone, though.
That's what I'm trying to prove your point further. I should have said I'm adding to it is that I think that's true, right? That eye that Winn has, maybe he needs to be more selective because the barrel rate is right. You can swing the bat as hard as possible, and it doesn't matter if you don't square it up, right? It seems like a pretty obvious thing here, but I agree with you, right? And I think that is something that he needs to work on because for as good as eye that he has, his walk rate is really kind of meh.
Yes.
Right. And I think that also points Matt and aids your point that he needs to maybe rein that swing green light in a little bit, right? If the ball's out, just take it because that on base percentage, like that's going to help you in every way possible. If you walk more, you swing less at garbage. Yeah. You can make contact with anything, but when you do make contact, it's not about swinging the bat as hard as possible. So I agree with you. I just selfishly wish, Scott, over to your point here, we could see the 18 home runs. And I think it's there because if you have an 18 home run hitter, I don't even know what you call him at that point because Ozzie never did something like that.
Well, and that's where I want to jump on, and I think you guys have been bringing up the Burleson comparison, and I agree, like, as far as looking at the Baseball Savant page for sure, but I like using the Burleson pages as a foray into what's to come for Winn as well. They're actually pretty similar when you look at the bat speed, the chase percentage, the walk percentage, and that kind of stuff. We saw Burleson in 24, like we were all about, okay, he hits the ball, he just swings at everything. And then 2025, we saw, I'm looking at it right now, his chase percentage in 24 was 34%. And then 25, he dropped it all the way down to 29%. And then that's when we see that OPS increased by 70 points. He had the 18 homers, and that's where I think we're going to eventually see Masyn Winn. Again, he's 23. Burleson put it together as a 26, 27-year-old. And he's been – I've listened to conversations that either is both Brant Brown and Ollie Marmol were talking about, and Brant Brown was like, Burleson is a guy that like wants it. He grinds it, and he's one that also challenges Brant Brown's coaching. And he's found that has made Burleson kind of like a better hitter at the plate, whether that's not like knowing when to be more patient, knowing when to swing. And just because you can hit the ball doesn't necessarily mean that you should. So I think there's that potential for whether it's working with Burleson, working with Brant Brown, but then also from the other side, seeing what Lars Nootbaar does with not swinging at anything in the zone to be able to find that combination for that perfect swing when you should, take when you should. And I think that the progression that Masyn Winn is on, as he's just hitting 1,200 at bats, I think next year is going to be where we start to see that bottom of that baseball savant page start to shift towards that more patient but aggressively selective approach is kind of how I like to put it.
Scott, can I set up a pitcher question for you and drawing on your personal experience? So an interesting stat that I liked to look at for Masyn was his unfortunate lack of utilizing and jumping on top of the fastball. So they have wins. They kind of have a normalized, basically 0 as league average if you're adding wins to against a certain pitch. And so other players, just to give context real quick, like Big Dumper has a 1.09, Ketel Marte 1.05, Shohei is almost 3, Aaron Judge is over 3, Vladdy's 1.5.
Bob, I love you. I love when you talk nerdy. I love it.
I like it when you say Big Dumper over and over too.
Yeah. So Masyn Winn is a negative 0.25 against the fastball. So as a pitcher, I would imagine that sometimes the fastball is, if you know going into a matchup that a hitter is struggling against a fastball, that you're like the cat and you're just toying with a mouse at that point, because you can do almost anything you want to a hitter if you know he can't even touch the fastball. So do you want to walk me, am I off there in thinking that, or do you think Major League pitchers have got to know this about Masyn Winn? Because I'm sure they're looking at the scouting reports. I'm sure they're deep diving. The pitching coach has given them some information of saying, hey, this guy can't even hit the fastball. Am I off in that, Scott?
Well, I think part of it, I'm going to defend Masyn Winn first, is that his part of the lineup, I'm going to go back to that, is always so inconsistent. He hit in second for the majority of the year last year, but the spot that you hit in the order, pitchers are going to attack you differently, especially when if you're hitting first, then you're going to have hopefully Victor Scott hitting ninth behind you and then setting yourself up to where maybe you're going to see more fastballs because they're worried about Victor Scott stealing second base, or they're worried about pitching around you or pitching to you because of whoever else is in the lineup. So I think that could be part of it, but I think that also shows to his pitch selection that's just going to have to come with time and that pitch recognition. I think overall, to your point, is that's something that definitely pitchers and pitching coaches are going to talk about. And I think that goes into the point that both Jonathan and Matt were talking about, is maybe he just doesn't swing fast enough to catch up to the fastball. And that could be because he is so ready to fight off a bad pitch that he's just reacting to a fastball and then just doing whatever he can to just tap it, put the ball in play, and then see what he can do after that. But another interesting part of the profile with Winn, and this could be something that helps whether with the fastball and seeing it get a little deeper, is if you look at his spray chart, he had a total of, I think, 5 extra base hits, be to right or center field. Everything else was pull power to left, which makes sense. But I also think that he has that athleticism that Matt talked about earlier and that ability to wait on the ball. He has, if he can pick up that barrel speed, that swing speed to where he can let the ball get further and then just bang that right center gap, I think that's also just going to help that progression go into that next level.
I think at some point too, we've got to bring up the fact that Winn was dealing with knee and back issues for much of the year. And we probably were remiss in letting it go this long, although I have enjoyed everything everybody's said. And let me say this real quick. I've been kind of down on Winn because of this offensive stuff. And looking at this actually kind of heartened me. I think there's more there, and I think he's closer than I thought he was. Yeah. But I just really think that the knee that he had surgery on and the lower back thing, I mean, those are critical hinge point in anybody's swing. And so to be struggling with those, and that could be something with the bat speed, right? A lack of power, that type of thing. So maybe it's as simple as Scott said this earlier, working with the training staff to be more durable maybe Weatherholt being up at some point and being able to play like a legitimate shortstop to give him more spells and breathers would be the case. But I really left this thinking he's closer than I thought he was to being an above average hitter, and I was really happy about that.
Jonathan,
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I kind of sectioned this into good, bad, and improvements. And Matt, your improvements, my first one is have a healthy knee, right? Like that is so critical when you think about hitting. You're planting your back leg. You know, all your power is driven off of your lower half when you're hitting. And I can't imagine trying to go up and hit major league pitching when you have that in the back of your head. Scott, to your point, you got to beat those pitches to the spot. If he can't push off, I mean, you can just go down that rabbit hole. It makes total sense. I also saw where he was feeling and complaining about this at the end of May. The end of May. He didn't stop playing until September. And whenever we did our infield review, when I looked at the splits per month and I looked at his WRC by month, March, April was fine. May was fine. Took a nosedive in June and July. And it makes sense. So I told you back then and now.
I don't remember this. What were his March, April, May? Do you have those numbers?
Yeah. I don't have it in front of me, but they were in the hundreds. 95, one of them was like 107, and then it starts to go back down.
Okay.
So that's my thing. If you can get healthy, I think it helps everything. Now, this is something I have not brought up, and I'm curious what you guys think. This is all hit related, right? We're talking about swing speed. We're talking about health. The two things I wish I'd see more from him that would help him at the plate or just help him with his WAR or the team in general, I kind of alluded to it with walks. He needs to walk more. He has a great eye. And I know it's hard to thread the needle of when should I swing versus when should I try to work a walk. If he gets on base more, that's only going to help because he needs to steal more bases. I am shocked that he has not done that more. I always see him and Matt, to your point, looks very athletic. And I look and he had like 9 steals in 2025. That's nuts to me. I'm not expecting him to be a 30 base stealer, but I would think 15 would be the floor. And then Scott, to this other point you were making, I'm glad you said this. He has some opposite field strength to him. I remember in his rookie season, he was spraying the ball that way left and right. And if he can turn more singles into doubles with the wheels, those are 2 categories of getting on base. His on base percentage shoots up. And then him being more valuable on the base paths, who wouldn't want that? I guess I'm shocked a little bit, not about the walks. That takes time to cultivate that unless you're Juan Soto, when you're sticking the cake out and intimidating the pitcher. But you can do the stolen base stuff. You can go first to second a little bit better. I guess that is something I put in my improvements I really would like to see that doesn't have anything to do with the swing necessarily. Just other ancillary stats I'd like to see him work on and be better at.
Yeah, the base turning is very interesting because he stole 9 bases, but he was caught 5 times, which is a terrible percentage. And he's fast enough, he's athletic enough, and in 2022 he stole 43 bases through all the minor leagues. And again, this is a 20-year-old. It's different catchers, it's different people working on things, but there's no reason. Then you look at again the Savant page, his sprint speed is in the upper portion of the league. You can tell that I'm looking at 24 to 25 that the sprint speed was down about 1 foot per second in 2025, and you have to attribute that to the back. You have to attribute that to the knee.
For sure.
I'm trying to remember back to the game that he played where it was like 12 degrees, and that's when he started to have those back spasms, and those are going to stick with you. And it was just very interesting that he stuck on the major league roster as long as he could. And that's a conversation that maybe is that a training staff where, hey, we got to protect you from yourself, but you also got to love that he's out there playing every day.
Yeah. Can I make a quick comp of when I was looking through who I saw when I was comparing people? And because once again, this kid has been in the league, and I'm going to call him a kid because he is. He's been in the league for 3 years, right? And one person, like I said, it's unfair to a shortstop to compare them to the big power hitting corner fielders in the infield and outfield. Someone that I liked when I saw a lot of the same numbers in terms of like someone brought up barrel percentage and hard hit and all that, and to see it play out in the end was Ketel Marte. It was almost stinking identical of like the progression of like his average, his max EV, his average exit velocity, his hard hit, his barrel percentage, all the progression that Masyn is making, it tracks similarly because at some point in Ketel Marte's career, about year 5, there's a noticeable difference in his percentage of hard hit. And that's what I just am hoping for, is that we have better health. And all of a sudden we have more confidence in terms of Masyn can put more weight and torque onto those body parts that are torquing. And all of a sudden we see Ketel Marte up there with 28 homers in the season, because that's the type of player that I honestly see when I was looking at that. Any thoughts about any of that? Did you guys make a comp to?
Yeah, I'd like to see Masyn torquing more. 100%. 100%. I'd love to see that up there. No, Andy, I didn't think about that with Ketel Marte. If Masyn Winn offensively turns into Ketel Marte, then this is like prime A-Rod light.
Well, that's Francisco Lindor.
Yeah, I like
yeah, that's who
holy
it is.
cow.
Yeah, Andy, unless you have somewhere else to take us, maybe this is a decent place to end, and this is not an outline, so I apologize. But guys, how aggressive do we need to be in extension talks with Winn? Because we're flirting with, you know what I mean, like a franchise player. Scott, you're ready to go.
Yeah, everyone who knows who I am, follows me, knows that I am absolutely in love with Masyn Winn. I think he has to be the face of the franchise for the St. Louis Cardinals. And part of the conversation was face of the franchise does not mean he's a perennial MVP or anything like that. He is the perfect marketable player. He's got that aura, whoever somebody said that earlier. He plays the premium position that kids are going to look up to. He's 23 years old. He has the ability to be in St. Louis for the next 10 years plus. That is a guy that you have to invest in. And I was looking at comps earlier, and the early extension was a 4-year, $50 million. But I think you got to go beyond that. I think you're going to be pushing into the 8-year, and really try to give not only St. Louis, but like something to really get the Cardinals to be like, okay, this is going to be who we build around. Now, I don't think Masyn Winn is ever going to be like, we need to build around Masyn Winn. He's going to be that high level supplemental piece to you to be able to pay for those Kyle Tuckers and those other people that are going to put you above. But having a premium shortstop who I think is, if he is left off the top 10 shortstop list again, I think that is a conversation that really needs to be had, because I think he is the perfect player for the St. Louis Cardinals in this era, especially after losing Wilson Contreras, that type of flair and energy. I think Masyn Winn is somebody that can rally the city of St. Louis behind.
You think he's willing to learn how to backflip on the field? You think that
Save the knees.
I don't want him doing anything with the knee. Yes.
I was going to say, with the way Scott was talking, I was ready to throw $100 into the kitty to get him his contract extension right now. That was good.
It was good. I think if you're St. Louis to the extension talks, you want to be more aggressive with this right now, because the longer you wait, the more expensive it's going to be. Now, that's from St. Louis, the guys upstairs thinking. If you're Masyn Winn, I think I'd bet on myself if that was him. I think I would. I think if I can hit a few more home runs, I'm going to make $250 million is what's going to happen. And so that's what I'm saying. If you're St. Louis, I think you'd feel more comfortable, Scott, doing something a little bit longer, maybe with a little bit higher dollar figure, because right now you don't really have anybody. And there's a chance, I think a higher chance, that you're going to get a lot of value out of a, 8-year, $120 million contract. If he's just a baseline 4-WAR player, I have no problem with that AAV every year. No problem with that. If he hits his highest ceiling here, that's double the contract. It's kind of an interesting game to play. You can see how Masyn might look at it, and you can also see why Hyman and company would be like, here's your security blanket. Maybe it's a deal that has incentives that goes up, that helps both, that would give Masyn the feel more comfortable to take it so that he can meet these escalators and really get paid. It's a really interesting conversation, and I think it's going to be bore out this year. If he's better this year, Matt, is that what you're thinking? If he's better, I think that they're going to try to do it.
It's just interesting because with him, it's all projectable. We haven't seen this offense yet. Well, I guess some in the minors, but is it there or is it not? And from me as a Cardinals fan, if you tell me we're going to lock up a guy who's going to play Gold Glove shortstop for 8 years, even if the offense hovers around between that 90 and 100 WRC plus, I still think a lot of fans won't understand that, but that's worth it to have on your infield to make your pitching staff better and just gobble up everything over there. So,
and the stuff Scott's saying, and Andy, you've been saying too, about face of the franchise, you need somebody to sell tickets,
True. That's
absolutely.
True.
Well, I think in the end, again, to bring us back out, big picture, Masyn is a very excitable player to be excited about, and it's a name that when people in my neck of the woods who can't name 5 Cardinals players ever, I try to toss out his name as someone who is, like in a positive light, like, hey, Masyn, we have a shortstop who is very good. And so I think that that's important for all the listeners, for us. It is the silver light, going back to the vibe check. It is Masyn Winn is part of that. That we have something to, it's not just all Jordan Walker and Nolan Gorman all the time. It can be someone who we're excited about. So any last thoughts, anything that burning desires that you guys want to get out that you wish you would have said and you didn't? Or are all minds clear?
I just saw one thing really interesting that right now, and this isn't related to that total conversation we had, but again, a glimpse of the future. Right now, the Cardinals are the 5th youngest team in all of baseball at 26.4 years. They're behind the White Sox, Nationals, Marlins, and Rockies at 25.8. And that's including Arenado, that's including Jojo Romero, and that's including Brendan Donovan. And when you look at the teams there behind, the Sox, the Marlins, or I won't put the Marlins in there, but the Rockies, I would be way more excited being a Cardinals fan during a rebuild than looking at what the White Sox are doing, look at what the Rockies are doing.
Yeah.
And because the talent is much different than the 25-year-olds that are playing for the White Sox. The 25-year-olds playing for the Cardinals are the ones that deserve to be in the major leagues. So that just is another reason that makes me excited about the future of this rebuild.
All of the shots fired at the White Sox roster.
Yeah. Matt, you got anything else before I end this on
that is a wonderful note to end on. I love it.
Well, I'm gonna treat the audience if you've made it this far. I talked about Lord of the Rings to the top, and I'm gonna do it at the close. Okay. All right. So watch Fellowship of the Ring. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat there and I was doing my notes after, because if you're doing multiple things while watching those movies, then you need to sit down.
You've done it
and
wrong.
Stop. Yeah, you need to stop. Masyn Winn is Boromir from the Fellowship of the Ring, and I'll tell you why. Okay, he did not succumb to wanting to take the ring. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about 3 arrows to the chest, still trying to save my boys Merry and Pippin while he has these injuries to the back, to the knee, to all these things. He still keeps posting Gold Glove defense, and I'll be gosh darned if Boromir didn't give it to the last. And that's how I feel about Masyn Winn, is he is Boromir.
Well, there you are. Thanks for tuning in for the Redbird Rundown, your go-to source for all things St. Louis Cardinals. Be sure, guys, to subscribe and review the show. It really helps us grow. Follow us on Twitter, Bluesky, Facebook, and YouTube for all the latest updates. Keep those rally caps on, and let's go Cards.
Horn of Gondor.